The opening of the film is the appearance of Arisu, a 24-year-old man who plugs his head into a video game in the evening. Only the thing he wants to play is thrown out of the house by his father. And his best friend Daikichi only likes to play girls, but he eats his boss girl, so he is also fired, and his friend Chota is a standard child, but the salary is too low, so he also quit work. The three bored friends kept looking for each other. They stood there watching everyone come and go. It seemed that they were special students in the social class. They couldn't get along with anyone. Suddenly Daikichi reminded Arisu to join the crowd on the street. Everyone was itchy by this action of the group of young people. Arisu stretched out his arms and shouted happily, and Chota took out his phone to record this moment. The result is traffic congestion. On the way to escape, the three friends saw a firework explosion in the sky, running and watching, so they accidentally caused an accident. In order to escape the pursuit of the police, the three young men quickly ran into a nearby public toilet. Suddenly the toilet lost power, and the phone could not be used. They opened the door and walked out, and immediately witnessed an extremely difficult scene. The street was full of cars, but in a moment there was no shadow of a person. The supermarket and shop were empty. The food in the restaurant was still hot. Everyone seemed to have evaporated completely. Suddenly, the whole city was as silent as a sheet. This is too bizarre. When it was dark, the big screen of the building behind suddenly lit up, and the game began to be written above, inviting you to move to the large hall in front for in order to find out all this. The three of them followed the instructions to a brightly lit building, in the direction in which the three arrows entered the building, but they didn't pay attention to the infrared barrier outside the door, and just walked in. On the first floor of the building. There were a lot of phones, and there was one for each person on the board. As soon as they held the phone in their hands, the three of them discovered that it had new updates. The phone had no signal, no app, but there was a countdown program. The three of them were still in a daze when a girl walked in. She didn't say anything, but threw the card out, and it was immediately hit by a hole in the barrel by the laser. It turns out that once you step through this infrared pepper, there is only an no out. Want to go out or die or win to play, just as the three of them were stunned. A female student also ran here, took out her phone to register. The five people here are also the players of this game at this time. The phone announces the expiration of the registration period, and begins to announce the rules of the game. The difficulty of the first round is 3 tests. The rules of the game are also announced within the stipulated time to choose the correct door to leave the building. When they finished reading, the elevator door was open. The 5 of them walked inside one after another, and then they were taken to a square room. The time to get through the first door will be 2 minutes. In front of them are 2 doors. One is the door of birth and the other is the door of death. If you choose the right door, you will live, but if you choose the wrong one, you will die. Chota felt that the game was very interesting, so he took out his phone and took it back. Arisu asked Shibuki, the most serious of the members, if he had any opinions, but her answer was yes and no. Choose the birth door, because the birth word was on the door at this moment. Black smoke rose from the floor, causing everyone to panic. There were only 3 seconds left, and if they didn't choose, they would all die in a hurry. The female student listened to Shibuki's words and ran to open the birth door, and finally unfortunately died, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Shibuki calmed down, resolutely walked to the other door, and the others also followed. Immediately afterwards, the room they had just stood in exploded, bursting into large flames. The next room is still 2 doors. 2 options. The countdown timer shows 1 minute and 50 seconds, which means that a new round of play begins. Even if you are afraid now, you can't do anything. There must be someone who sacrifices to rush up and open the door, but the young man seriously gave me fear of spilling bile just as everyone was arguing. Thick wire smoke rose again. If it continues like this, everyone will die. Izusu didn't want to argue, so he took the initiative to walk to the door of death, but in the face of the realm between life and death, he couldn't help but hesitate a little in the end. He still didn't have the courage at this time. Daikichi made the decision to open this round, and the next round would be Shibuki's turn to open. He risked his life to rush into the birth door. The result was as expected. Everyone quickly ran into the 3rd room, and the time on this side receded for another 10 seconds, and it was Shibuki's turn to choose the door, but she hesitated for a long time and still didn't dare to open the door. Seeing her panic like that, Daikichi still softened his heart, turning to ask Izusu if there is a way. Normally, he was extremely proficient in brain games, but now he couldn't be calm enough to be able to make an informed decision. Too angry, Daikichi gave Izusu a punch. This punch made Izusu more alert. In his mind, there was no scene outside the building. His mouth muttered BM 523. After a moment of reasoning, Izusu finally declared that the final answer was the door of death. There were only 10 seconds left, so he didn't have time to explain. He just gritted his teeth and pushed the door, which was indeed a safe door. After entering the building, Izusu began to explain that BM 523 was the brand of the car parked in front of the door. The car had a total length of 3 meters, and the length of this building, which was 4 times the length of the car, which was nearly 20 meters. That is, each floor of the building was a square with a length and width of 20 meters, then used his feet to estimate the length of the room as 1 square next to 6 m. He quickly took pen and paper and redrew the diagram of the building. In a square building, there are only 3 rooms on one side at most. There will be 9 rooms in total. The first room they entered was the lower left corner. The girl died in the next room. Therefore, they had been walking in a straight line until now, proving that as long as they did not enter the middle room, they could safely get out after that. They continued to follow the path as in the final inference to the last room. Daikichi and Chado hugged each other happily. Only Izusu discovered that something was wrong. In this room, the 2 doors looked like death doors according to the previous rule, the room to the left of them where the high school girl had died. But on the left was the wall. Izusu thought that he had missed a detail, so he immediately took out the map and redrew it, and then calculated it in his head, but it still didn't yield any results. He suddenly remembered that Chota had recorded the video of the first room. Through the video of the dead girl's room, there was no door, that is, there was still a small room hidden. According to Izusu, everyone ran out through the door of death, but Chota was severely burned because her limbs were caught in flames clinging to one side of her pants. Fortunately, there was a smart Izusu who saved them out at the last second at this time. Their phones had a congratulatory message that they had passed the door, and then a white table appeared in front of them, on which was placed a 3-piece card. It turns out that each player, after winning, will be issued a visa with a corresponding duration of 3 days. So what will happen after 3 days? At that moment, a lame uncle in front of him came forward. He warned that it is best to stop the game now. No matter how many doors you pass, there is no stop. Today is the day your visa expires. You can end everything. As soon as he finished the sentence, a laser shot his head, dying on the spot. Looking at the uncle's body, everyone understood that 3 days later they had to continue participating in the game. Ajisu looked up at the sky. At this time, the entire city was covered by countless lasers. It seemed that many people had died in the game the next day. Ajisu wanted to take the car out of the city, but all the machines and electronics were disabled, and only a few obsolete devices were still usable. Chota reads an article about attacking each stratum with electric guns, which can easily destroy electricity-powered machinery throughout the city. Everyone had no clue about this. The whole group took advantage of the leftover canned food to continue fighting, eating while talking about the events before the incident, falling from the sky to bring them here. Ajisu, Daikichi, and Chota have a heated argument, but Shibuki is thinking about the time before she came to this game. At that time, she had exchanged her innocence for a chance to get promoted, and after she finished taking a shower, the other leader disappeared, and then she found out that she had joined the game. However, in order to prevent the Ajisu from panicking, Shibuki hid this fact and said that he was working. Before this incident occurred at this moment, Ajisu discovered an important point. Shibuki said that she had arrived here 3 days ago, which meant that the time they had arrived here was not the same, but according to the state of the intermediate rotten election. He guessed that the timeline here was different from their original world. Combined with the disappearance of some objects, Chota guessed that they had been teleported to another dimension. This world exists because there is someone who manages it. Just like the manager of a game, the manager knows each person's movements, can determine the location of players who have expired, and take their lives at any time. In the end, the group concluded, before they came, there were already many people who had already come to this world, and had participated in countless games. Suddenly, Chota's burn was in severe pain, and the wound was getting worse and worse. That night, Daikichi came to Arisu to talk, and they both agreed on the same point, although their visas were 3 days away. But tonight they had to participate in this game, both to find a doctor for Chota and to understand the rules of the game to prepare for later. This time the location of the game is an 8-story building. The number of participants is up to 13 people. There was a girl named Usagi who was also involved, and Arisu also saw a boy wearing a hood. In a very special corner at his feet was a device similar to an old music player charging. Each participant held a phone according to the notice sent. The difficulty of this game is 5 spades. The quality of the cards also speaks to the genre of the game. Tet is a team fight, Do is a battle of minds, Spade is a battle of physical strength, and Ko is the most troublesome substance. That is, you have to play a game of betrayal with each other, and the higher the number, the greater the difficulty. It seems that this game needs to rely on physical strength to win. The game is called Running Away from Demons. The rule is that they must not let the devil catch them. The condition for breaking the island is that within 2 minutes, the player must find the room containing the organ, then press the button to cut the bomb. If the button is not pressed for 20 minutes, the bomb below the building will explode. And this apartment also has very few rooms. The brother-in-law, who was accompanied by these 2 people, had destroyed the island 5 times. The game officially begins. Each person is divided to hide on the floors. Until now, no one knows how to cancel 8 floors with more than 100 rooms. They had to avoid the demons and find the room with the buttons. The difficulty is also not medium. Finally, following the strange footsteps, the demon appeared. Usagi felt unwell. It seemed that the demon was close to her. Fortunately, she is a mountaineer, quickly jumping from the upper floor to hide downstairs to avoid danger. At this moment, a Zysis group suddenly heard gunshots. The 3 immediately stopped. then carefully stepped forward to take a look. Suddenly, a man covered in blood was thrown over. Then they saw an even more terrifying scene. This was the demon, a person with a gun in his hand and a horse mask on his head. Azisu and Daikichi hurriedly escaped into a small niche, escaping once, but the others were not so lucky. The poor brother-in-law had already died, and the shackled uncle ran out and was immediately shot dead by the laser. The two girls who faced the demon had no resistance and were immediately killed. Azisu and Daikichi hurriedly thought of a way. This demon was too ferocious. In addition to having a leather gun in his hand, his body was as if he had been trained. At this moment, the demon suddenly looked up at them, but did not notice them. Azisu suddenly came up with the idea. Because he was wearing a mask, the demon's vision was limited. This could be the key to victory. Azisu shouted this discovery to everyone here, and then told the location of the demon. Thus, those who are not near the location of the demon can safely find the room with that button. The idea was good, but he underestimated people's hearts. Everyone was just worried about saving their lives. No one was looking for the word Usagi. She responded, but the demon quickly spotted her, and fortunately, with her agility, Usagi immediately climbed upstairs. At this time, there were only 8 minutes left before the bomb exploded, and the demon was on the upper floor, shooting continuously at the players on the lower floor. When the demon exchanged bullets, Azisu hurriedly stepped forward to save this new player. With only 6 minutes left, Daiki thought to himself, if the devil could have killed us, then why couldn't we kill the devil first? Just now, I also met two players who intended to kill demons. After all, he was a human. The two sides cooperate in planning. Usagi said that there were still 2 floors downstairs that he had not searched. So Azisu immediately went to find the room where he worked with her others. Ambushed demons very quickly. The demon was lured into a trap by a player according to the plan. When the demon turned his back on the tall man, he would take the opportunity to deal with the demon, but that man didn't do anything. He wanted to let the little guy make the devil shoot all the bullets. After the little guy fell, the demon saw the Daikichi trying to shoot a tall man rushed out from behind, kissing the fire extinguisher in the face of the demon. In the midst of the chaos, the demon fired all the bullets. Daikichi seized the opportunity, smashing the firefighter into the demon's head. But the demon was unharmed. The tall man came to help, but the demon's body was very good. The tall man was no opponent, and Daikichi rushed forward and stabbed a knife into the demon's shoulder blade. But he was still thrown away, and the demon also took out a knife and slashed it through Daikichi's stomach. Fortunately, the tall man rushed to smash the demon and fell out. At this moment, Izusu was paying attention to the room that the demon had always guarded. So that was the room. Sure enough, the young man in white also deduced that and walked over. The game now has only 3 minutes left. As soon as Izusu held the handle in his hand and was about to open the door, he suddenly thought clearly that the demons could stand here to fight. Why bother going after them? But time didn't wait for people. Izusu didn't have time to think, could only open the door. The two of them carefully walked inside. Little by little, inside a piece of darkness, it turned out that there was another demon in the room. Just like the other demons, it was aggressively shooting at the two of them. Fortunately, the young man in white brought an electric baton to counterattack. The demon had extraordinary strength, and it stood up again and continued to attack the two players. Izusu hid deep inside and saw another small door. On the 2 walls of the room, each side has a switch, and 2 people must press it together to win. He hurriedly shouted for help, and Yusuji immediately ran over on the other side. The young man turned the situation around, and after a while, the demon officially landed on the floor, and the demon on Izusu's side continued to successfully bombard the room. There was only 1 minute left. Just as the dirty demon was about to shoot Izusu, Izusu risked his life to push the demon into the wall. After that, 1 person and 1 demon fought each other, and at this time Yusuji finally came with the support of the white-haired man. With Yusuji, Izusu finally finishes the game, and when the time is exactly 1 second, the phone also rings announcing that they have passed the game. At this moment, the demon suddenly moved, and it turned out to be a woman. The Izusu group completed the mission, which meant that she would be subject to the highest punishment of death. When he saw the announcement of the end of the game on the demon's phone, he told the muscular youth to stop, and it turned out that the demon was also forced to participate in this game. But the muscular youth didn't care too much, took the gun and left calmly. Before leaving, he also took a walkie-talkie from the demon. The radio kept emitting a voice. We had already found the answer, and quickly returned to the beach. The second round ended with too many red paint stains, and the white shirt took from the devil's pocket an extremely strange drawing. The 2 young men returned victorious. They said they needed to go to the beach. Perhaps there you will probably find the truth of the survival game. Everyone guesses that it is a place similar to a shelter in distress. But in the current situation, Chota's leg was seriously injured, and Daikichi's waist was also stabbed. Chota and Tsubaki's visas are due on the last day, and they must join the game tonight, get a new batch of visas, otherwise they will definitely die that night. The next round of play started again, and everyone went to the game point according to the instructions. This is the botanical garden. The tables are filled with melee weapons, and the 4 hats look very modern. The old rules, 1 phone per person, began to complete the registration. At this time, the phone switched to a notification, and they put on their virtual reality hats one after another. The difficulty of this game is 7 mechanics. The muscle appeared. All of them were confused and afraid. Muscle quality is a game of betrayal, joking with other people's minds. In addition, there are numbers that show the difficulty of the game. Eris's team participates in a game with a difficulty of 7 mechanics, so it means that this game is quite fierce. Moreover, they are friends who have been enemies since childhood, forcing them to betray each other. Hide and seek game. One person will be a wolf and the other 3 will be sheep. The one who is watched by the wolf will also become a wolf, and whoever is the last wolf will be the winner. The other 3 were forced to die after that. The system began to announce that the first person to be a wolf was Chota. The game starts with a 15-minute countdown. On Chota's ring appears a wolf. Being a weak person, Chota immediately collapsed, began to go crazy and wanted to remove the ring. Arisu stopped it, and our eyes accidentally met. Then the role of wolf was changed to Arisu, and then Daikichi, noticing the game's flaws. Tsubiki draws everyone's attention to her, and so she turns into a wolf and quickly runs away after just 15 minutes. She was the winner. Realizing the problem, Daikichi immediately chased after him. Tsubiki had to sacrifice too much in order to live. Before joining Eris's group, in order to get a good position in the bank for a promotion, she did not hesitate to sell herself to her superiors in exchange for it. After joining their group, in order to entice Chota to be weak and have no opinions, she used her body to do these things. Chota couldn't move because his legs were sore, so he sat still in one place, and through his headphones he called Tsubiki to come back, discussing how to break the game together. He was too weak and stupid to believe that Tsubiki accepted the request. Not long after, Daikichi also caught Tsubiki. Even if she died, she wouldn't look at it. As long as she didn't look into Daikichi's eyes, she would still be a wolf. Daikichi immediately used force to attack and successfully stole the role of a wolf. Tsubuki was also not a medium type. She hit Daikichi's wound with a stone repeatedly. At this time, Arisu appeared in front of them and successfully took the role of a wolf, unable to advise everyone to stop. Arisu had no choice but to flee. Soon Arisu was caught up by Daikichi and Tsubiki. He wanted to explain that he was trying to get everyone to survive, which Tsubiki didn't believe, not even his good friend Daikichi. Suddenly, Chota appears. Tsubiki, giving Arisu a chance to escape, taking the opportunity for Arisu to run to a no man's land and try to open the necklace, but there seemed to be no way. He was going to cut the necklace, but thinking about the scene of the demon being blown up again. Indeed, facing death has made people's consciences go to sleep. Friends used to say that life and death have each other, but now someone's life is saved with 5 minutes remaining. Daikichi was still chasing behind, but no matter how provocative Daikichi was, Arisu still insisted on hiding and refusing to come out. Chota kept Tsubiki. He wanted his other 2 friends to survive, even though he didn't want to die like that. Daikichi was so badly injured that he fell to the ground, unable to get up. Holding a ring in his hand to propose to his beloved, his life still has too many regrets at this time. Arisu remembers his disgusted life. He was born into a well-off family, but was not cared for by his father. All day long, he just plugged his face into the game world. The only people who care about him are Daikichi and Chota. They used to drink together, play together, strive together for their dreams, and be each other's core friends. Why did they turn into this now? With 3 minutes remaining, Arisu decided to sacrifice herself. He said he would give his life to the 2 of you. He began to run to find his 2 friends, calling out the names of Daikichi and Chota through his headphones, but no matter what he called, there was only silence in the headphones. Daikichi and Chota both implicitly understood that no sound was made, because they were like Arisu, and decided to sacrifice themselves. Tsubiki, who always wanted to survive, was also forced to use his strength to seal the test. That is also the rule of the game. Just hide carefully, don't be caught. It turns out that the rules of the game are understood that way. It is truly a game of teasing the heart. Arisu frantically searched the botanical garden, but found no one. There was still a minute left until the end of the game, and Daikichi finally spoke. He mentioned the memories of the 3 of them, and then said that Arisu was living well, that the 2 of them were satisfied. The remaining time was the last 30 seconds, and the girl was also touched and didn't want to fight anymore. May I hug Chota for the last moments? Time runs out, the bracelet immediately explodes. Arisu ultimately wins the game, but he alone wins despite winning. Arisu also completely collapsed. There are times when life is even more miserable than the one. At the same time, Yusuji is also remembering her father, who is a professional climber, so she also has a passion for mountains. Only here can she feel peace, to be true to who she is. One day her father decided to conquer a dangerous mountain, without an oxygen tank. Despite Yusuji's words, he still insisted on going. He lost contact during the climb, and it is now unclear how he died. The press reported that he had committed suicide, and his daughter had to go through a painful time when she lost her only relative. Now that Yusuji's life is much better, she has overcome the pain to take care of herself. On the way, She stumbles upon Izusu, who is exhausted, bored from school, and lies down waiting to die. He told Yusuji that he no longer wanted to live, so Yusuji left his face there and left. The next day she passed by and still saw Izusu there, in the rain soaked in diapers, sympathetic to the lonely young man. She brought the bored young man home and fed him. When Izusu regained consciousness and remembered that 2 of his friends had died for him, he was tormented by the inability to forgive himself. Yusuji said that it is difficult to live now, but if you want to die, you should die in games or wait for your visa to expire. But before you die, you should also have a full stomach and die. The next morning, the sky was clear and cloudy, and there were still no people on the main road. Yusuji came home from training and saw the rice bowl empty on the ground. She knew that Izusu would not die. The sunlight gradually faded until it was time to participate in this survival game. The game location this time is in a tunnel through the ground, where the roll call is an old bus. There were 3 other people here who had come first. These 3 people had destroyed the 4 islands, and they were also 3 close friends. Izusu heard this, and her heart ached. Yusuji found that one of them had injured his leg. The old law is 1 phone per person. The expiration of the game registration begins. The name of the game is Distance Difficulty Game 4 Test. It seems that this is a radio game that asks about the possibility of cooperation. Within 120 minutes, they had to overcome the challenges and be safe about the enemy. Immediately afterwards, the phone mode pops up, the distance measurement mode with the number 0 on the head. They tried to start the bus but were unsuccessful, so the injured guy volunteered to stay so as not to entangle them. Although very sad, the 2 friends also accepted. Yusuji also agreed with that decision. And Ajisu is still naked. But think of the friends who sacrificed for me. He also tried his best to run towards the enemy. After running for a while, the screen also shows that you can run 5000 m. There is a water supply point. The guy in brown was about to drink, but was stopped by his friend in white. Ajisu was also about to drink and was stopped by Yusuji. It was obvious that the water was most likely a deadly trap. Instead, Yusuji gave Ajisu the water bottle she had brought. Ajisu kindly shared it with the other 2. They were surprised but finally took the water bottle. Usagi was helpless but unstoppable. After all, this is a game that requires solidarity. Maybe these 2 people will be needed. They continued to run towards the enemy until a dark tunnel where they stopped. Because in the darkness in front of them, a black panther was rushing towards them. Everyone panicked and fled. This young man hid under the car, so fortunately he was not happy. Turning to attack Ajisu and Yusuji, the 2 quickly ran into a nearby car. But before the door was closed, the leopard rushed over. The situation is very critical. Fortunately, Yusuji took out a fire and threatened to make the leopard retreat. The 2 successfully escaped. But there is one person who is not so lucky. The leopard rushed out from the side, crushed the person to the ground, then tear him apart and always go into the dark. The other 3 only took the opportunity to run away. But keep running. They gradually slowed down. Having just escaped from the Black Panther, they had spent a lot of their energy. I really can't run anymore now. At this time, Ajisu discovered an antique motorcycle running on oil. This car does not use an electronic circuit board. That means it will run well. Only it doesn't have DLZ oil. And just 2 buses had this oil. The time is now more than an hour away. So Ajisu told the 2 of them to run to the finish line first. And he will take this car back to save his friend on the bus. Then chased after him. On this side, the 2 friends ran 12 kilometers away. But Ajisu is still 4 kilometers away from the beginning. Finally, the 2 of them reached the finish line. And Ajisu also returned to the bus safely. While waiting at the finish line, suddenly, the wall behind them shook violently like an earthquake. Then the snails spewed water everywhere. The 2 of them ran away with all their might, rather than chasing dogs. The wall shattered, and the water of the pond chased behind them. The white-shirted friend stumbled on the street. Then it was swallowed by the water, just as Usagi was about to follow in the heels of the white shirt. Suddenly, a voice rang out from afar. Ajisu was about to grab Yusuji with her hands. The 2 have only one chance. When the friend crossed his legs and drove the car, Ajisu grabbed Yusuji's hand. It was also the time when the water swept away the whole car. When the water has drained, all 3 were lucky to survive. And the car was also swept back to its original position by water. I thought the game had failed. We'll be killed by lasers. But they are still at peace. At this time, they saw a very large letter painted on the car. It turns out that from the very beginning the starting point is also the destination. It's just that they don't realize. Then the stream played wildly and ran for 2 hours. He also sacrificed and lost 2 friends. In this game, the starting point is the end point. The number on the phone corresponds to the distance between them and the destination. So not is the best. No, you can't win. The man with the injured leg was the one closest to the destination. It is really impossible to predict anything. The injured guy thanked and then parted with the 2 people. I don't know where he will go with this shock. The next day Izusu told Yusuzi about the beach. That place is likely to be a shelter. It may also be the only place where the true purpose of the game can be found. The 2 decided to leave for the beach. On the way, 2 people followed the playing groups. Izusu discovered that some people were wearing strange bracelets. Perhaps it was a clue to find the manager. Sure enough, the people who wore the bracelets all won. Izusu immediately followed. But they got into an old car. The Yusuzi side also saw 2 people like that. 2 people tried to run after these people. They were going to the same place together. It was the bright building in front of him. It is also clearly stated that it is a beach. The 2 are trying to squeeze inside. Suddenly, both of them were raided in the back and taken away. The next morning they were greeted by the people at the beach. The head is Takizu. He said that to be able to return to the old world, they must collect all 52 cards in the western deck. Therefore, he created this place to collect cards with everyone. Takizu wanted to take Izusu's cards, and the Yusuzi should have taken the initiative to admit them into the organization. At the same time, it is stated that at the beach there are 3 rules that must be followed. 1. Always wear a swimsuit at the beach. In this way, it is impossible to hide weapons. 2. The entire card will belong to the beach. No one is allowed to hide. Whoever gives more cards will be promoted. After he left, that person would be the next person to leave the country. The 3rd law is that whoever betrays will die by instinct. Except for those 3 rules, there is no need to comply with any rules here. Izusu and Yusuzi wanted to refuse, but there are guards all around. Obviously, if you refuse, you can't step out of this room, because I don't know when I will die. So every day, everyone enjoys having fun drunk. You can do whatever you want. Compared to that survival game, everything here doesn't seem realistic. Thus, the 2 of them became members of the beach when they put the watch on their hands. In the evening, Takizu divided the group to go to the arenas to collect cards. The white-haired brother and his companion were also here. It seems that he was quite impressed with Izusu's performance earlier. Under the cheers of the Takizu, the players arrived at the start time. And today's Izusu visa is also the deadline. Therefore, he was also forced to participate in the game tonight. The game this time is to escape from a closed room. The room is filled with high-voltage electricity above the ceiling. The big pipes are constantly counting water. The game is about to start. Difficulty 4 checkers, light bulb game name. The game content is very simple. In the room there was a door, behind which was a light bulb that could be lit. There are 3 circuit breakers outside. The player's task is to find the exact circuit breaker that turns on the light. If you guess incorrectly or let the water level get close to high-voltage electricity, you will be shocked to death. But the opportunity to verify is only once. In the open door condition, the circuit breaker must only be switched on once. When the door is closed, the circuit breaker can be lifted many times. If someone is in the room or the circuit breaker is raised, the door will be locked and cannot be moved. Answer correctly which circuit breaker to make the light break the island. People argue because there is no solution, but the country is getting higher and higher. If you don't give a quick answer, you will be in a flood. At a critical moment, Eris's intelligence once again burst forth. He hurriedly closed the door. After that, Arisu picked up the breaker A, and then told everyone not to move. The water level is getting higher and higher. Everyone is in a hurry. Not knowing what Arisu was going to do, he saw that the water was about to cross his neck. He shouted to open the door again, then moved on to reap the breaker B. Everyone turned to look at the lights that were not on, proving that the correct answer was A or C. At this time, he told the girl to go into the room and touch the light bulb. The girl put her hands up and touched her hands, but she was burned and stepped back. Of course, the electricity-generated heat caused the bulb to heat up. So the answer to this game is a circuit breaker. In the very last seconds, Arisu broke the game. Everyone was afraid to say nothing. After returning from the game, Arisu and Yusuji have fun celebrating. It was at this moment that Arisu saw a group of people here. Didn't the Arisu muscular guy ever meet? He is a Guni, the beach guard should be armed. He used to serve in the military, currently the head of the corps. The girl with the white hair also said. Adding to the number one authority at the beach is Takizu, and his subordinates confronted the Aguni and the army Hiden. The order here is very precarious and conflict can occur at any time. After the greeting, Aguni has the juniors take Yusuji back to the coal shoveling room. Arisu hurriedly stood up to stop him. Aguni immediately ordered his legs to be broken. As soon as the two sides reached their peak, Takizu appeared, freeing Arisu. Aguni was very upset, but he also had to let the goods fall out of reach. Arisu was then summoned by Takizu to their room. In addition to his group and the army, there was also the appearance of white hair. Today they have collected 4 more leaves, so they are only missing 1 card, which is 10 muscles. As for the Jikika-shaped cards, I don't know if they exist or not. There are also enough sets that it has never appeared in any game. It must have been a super difficult game. Takizu decided to join this next game. Aguni will remain in the executive when Takizu is absent. Takizu then talks to Arisu. He said that he used to open a bar called Instant Scatter. However, due to poor management, an employee committed suicide. Other employees were afraid to leave, causing the restaurant to close. As a result, he learned from his experience and built a new paradise here, where people are willing to give their lives for him, making him a hero. He then recalled the first day of the game. It turned out that he and Aguni were the first players. The cards were kept by him. Therefore, Aguni did not dare to move. The next morning, Yusuji came to call Arisu to wake him up after a night of drunkenness. She warned him that the sweet honey was dead. Be careful with the old man Takizu as he will be targeted by the people of the army. The two then inquired about the information of the other players. They said that in the suburbs, the roads are very seriously deteriorated. Going further is only the roaring forest. A few people try to cross the sea, but he was shot dead by a laser from the sky. Basically, the two of them didn't harvest any information. During his stay here, Yusuji learns that the weapon is stored in the basement of the building, where the army controls. At this time, Arisu saw that there were some suspicious people. Immediately followed, and saw a large box covered with tarpaulin. It emitted a very rotten smell. It turned out that this was a container for the body. The white-haired man said that it was the people who intended to escape from here. But then he said that he knew how to get out of here. Now just steal all the cards. Then he would lead the way to get Arisu out of the beach. On this side, Takizu also started to set off to find the game. He was escorted by 5 juniors. Meanwhile, Takizu's assistant is picking up corpses to search for location. The soldier ran in and told her that something had happened. In the classroom, the white-haired man also called Asuji over. But Yusuji was not allowed to go inside. Their Aguni announces that Takizu has died with a bullet wound to the chest. Some people think that Takizu participated in a shooting game and then failed. In order to prevent people from panicking, members of the executive board asked to keep the death of the head in respect. Kajin nominated himself to take Takizu's place. But the army with weapons in hand intimidated everyone into accepting Aguni as the new leader. The junior happily tortured Takizu's corpse, which made everyone extremely uncomfortable. In the end, Aguni had to ask him to stop and declare himself the new leader. The code of the iron not containing all the cards was opened for Aguni to see, and then he was stern again. White-haired due to Takizu's quest to find and retrieve the iron knots. After he got it, he would hand over the password to him. Yusuji and his girlfriend were on guard outside. When Aguni gave a speech to the entire population, Takizu entered the leader's room to search for the iron seal. After searching for a while, he found the iron crystal, but when he entered it according to the code that the silver head read, then the iron knot sounded an alarm. The Aguni and his subordinates also immediately appeared, which was unexpected. Then the silver head followed the Aguni star to blame Izusu, and he plotted to create a rebellion. Since then, Izusu feels even more afraid of the people here. It turned out that it was all just a trap set up by that silver-headed man to turn him into a sacrifice. Izusu was brutally beaten by his subordinates, and then tied up in one place. Yusuji was also taken away to serve them in the amusement potato roasting. She fiercely fought back, injuring the junior, and now she is no longer roasting potatoes. The close assistant didn't care about the death of Maikizu and immediately dissected her leader. She discovered that there was a bullet stuck in his left chest on his body. As for the silver head, he continued to look for iron. He believed that Izusu was stupid and naive to think that the cards were stored in the iron cabinet of his armor. When Izusu was captured, he saw Aguni looking at the drawing of the deer. It is recommended to speculate in the envelope indicating the location where the iron is stored. After removing the painting, the iron knot appeared. With the guard of his lover outside, he successfully opened the iron knot and shuffled the cards. When the two were about to leave, Whitehair spotted a laser outside the gate. The entire beach was so enclosed by the laser that it was impossible to get out. Soon after the announcement of the start of the game, the whole beach is an arena. Everyone on the beach was surprised by that announcement. Taking the opportunity of the flower dress not paying attention, Yusuji quickly disappeared. The game is called Witch Hunt with mechanical difficulty. This card has never appeared in the arena before. People are asked to gather at the connoisseur to pick up the phone. Here, everyone also discovered the murder of a girl who had been stabbed to death by the fence. And that girl is the contestant of this game. Everyone observes the girl. The mission of the game is simply find out the perpetrator who killed the girl and set her on fire to disrupt the game. The game begins. The time for everyone to complete this challenge is 2 hours. The first suspect was the girl's best friend, because the two of them are always together like a picture with a ball. Why did the girl die without her best friend knowing? The flower shirt man without evidence asked the guards to arrest her best friend and burn her, but it was prevented because there was no evidence. How could it kill a person with marrow? At this time, the assistant also announced that Takizu had been murdered, and doubt due to the people of the beach. A girl thinks that the people of the new army have a gun to shoot Takizu to death, and it is very likely that he is a witch. The poor girl was quickly killed by the tattooed man with a sword. Things got worse and worse when Aguni and his juniors appeared. He tried to rape the witch and quickly surrendered, or he will kill all the people who are not in the Legion. The happily perverted flower-robed man immediately took up a gun and fired. Seeing this, everyone was afraid to run away to save their lives. Yusuji quickly took out the leftover attendant's phone. Then he and a group of friends went to save Arisu. The flower-robed man at this time frantically ordered the killing of all the people who were not in the army. Many people were murdered and then burned, but I still haven't found out who the witch is. The soldiers also did everything they could to force everyone to leave the building. The flower-robed guy used a sniper rifle to shoot from above. As for the tattooed face, gasoline was used to set the fire. Among the people of the army, not everyone kills innocent people. Thanks to that, Yusuji was able to inquire about Arisus' whereabouts. The group set off to the main building. In the control room, the white-haired man discovered that the assistant was looking for something. It turns out that she once dared to do forensic medicine. So she is looking for a way to get fingerprints on the weapon to find the witch. However, on the way to the main hall, the two people encountered the tattooed man. The white-haired lover said she would try to keep him and her Let's Go Island Breaker game. So a beautiful woman and an assassin rush into a fight. Those who come to the cup, those who dodge. Looking at her so fragile and weak. But in fact, she is a transgender boxer. The tattooed man's sword rushed towards him as fast as lightning. But she just had to move herself slightly to the side to avoid that move. Then threw a kick that caused the tattooed face to measure the floor. Then she unleashed dangerous blows on her opponent, quickly knock him down. And the flower-robed guy who is refreshing to kill people. Then he remembered that he had been bullied by everyone before. It is true that the hurt wants to hurt others. He was shooting deliciously when he was attacked by a white-haired man. After a few words, the two began a war of words. White-haired said the beach's power supply has been changed from generators to grid power, proving that the people of the game organizers have entered the beach. He believed that only the people of the army could control the power supply. After the martial arts, the two began to act. White-haired bent down and ran like a ninja, then throw a distracting deck of cards. Then he used a homemade fire gun to shoot at the flower robe, causing him to fall from the rooftop. At this time, Arisu was tied to a chair, her eyes were sealed, mouth frying tape. As he lay down waiting to die, he remembered the two friends who sacrificed to keep him alive. Therefore, he is determined to continue living to avenge them. With all her efforts, Suzy escaped with gag glue and called for help. As a result, Yusuzi finds the room where he is being held. She finally finds Arisu and helps him escape. She quickly handed over her phone to Arisu to sign up for the game. After being informed about the rules of the game, Arisu began to speculate. He believes that just like the 5-goal game, the witch is also the one who is forced to participate in the game. Thus, he must know how to make it impossible for all the people on the beach to break the island. Yusuzi thinks that if she were a witch, she wouldn't be involved in the massacre out there. If you are killed because you are running away, you will lose. As for the people in the army, if they kill all the people here, they will also slaughter each other and die. However, Arisu thinks that with the difficulty of 10 muscles, the game is not that simple. The rules of the game will have to be oppressive, joking to lead the player's mind to a much more terrible level. After thinking for a while, Arisu began to speculate. Accordingly, the game of 10 has just cried with the cards that the beach needs. He believed that the game was controlled by the game's designers. The death of Takizu and the girl was not so accidental and close. Apparently, the game designer waited for Takuzu's death before releasing this game. Meanwhile, the lifeless Aguni stood by and watched the innocent people being murdered one by one. He reminisced about the past. It seemed that Takuzu's death still made him grieve. At this time, the assistant had noticed the fingerprints on the handle of the knife and understood everything. As soon as she ran away to inform everyone, she was immediately defeated by the army. The white hair was still as usual looking for a safe angle from above to observe. In the last 15 minutes, Arisu decided to go to meet Aguni to cooperate in breaking the game. But the Aguni suddenly attacked Arisu. That action raised a doubt in everyone's mind. Only the perpetrator is afraid that others will find him. Could it be that Aguni was the perpetrator who killed the victim? Without waiting for long, Aguni claimed to be a witch, but the army did not dare to shoot him. Maybe everyone was manipulated by these words. But for Arisu, who has won a 7-game game, you should try to know the trick of this game. Making people suspicious and betraying each other. Arisu also understood why Aguni called himself a witch, because it was Aguni who killed Takizu. He also speculated that Aguni and Takizu were close friends. The two of them only acted for confrontation in front of everyone, in order to cooperate in controlling 2 sick people with flower shirts and tattooed faces. Aguni was told that he was hit by a black heart and immediately rushed to hit Arisu. It turns out that they built the beach together, make this place a land of hope. But then witnessing Takizu murdering everyone here, just because they hide the cards, Aguni began to feel that something was not right. That feeling gradually increased until the night before. After Takizu finishes the game, the two of them went to the old beach bar to discuss. Aguni wants to disperse the beach because of collecting cards to return to the real world. It's just that Takizu makes up his mind. Aguni didn't want to deceive others, but Takizu disagrees. He thinks that the beach is a country he created, bringing hope to everyone, and thought that Aguni was trying to betray. He was too tired of having to go with the madmen of the Legion. He just wanted to be with Takizu side by side like in the past. Although it feels a little agitated, but Aguni still decided to refuse. Takizu pulled out his gun and tried to shoot Aguni. As a result, he was shot dead by Aguni. Just look at Aguni's eyes. Arisu understood it all. Therefore, Aguni wants to kill everyone here, because he thought that the beach had driven Takizu crazy. People began to understand that Aguni was not interested in the game from the beginning. He just wanted to kill everyone. As for Arisu declaring, "The witch is that girl. She herself committed suicide." Aguni carried a lump of anger in him, continued to attack Arisu. His madness grew more and more, and start fighting with everyone. It turned out that Takizu's gun had no bullets at that time, so Aguni is in pain and mad like now. He attacked everyone, with the desire to be killed by someone. In order to prevent the crowd from rioting, Aguni sacrificed himself to reveal she was the one who dealt the cards, so she was immediately shot dead by the system. The incident suddenly surprised everyone. At this time, the assistant came over and announced, thanks to the inverted handle fingerprint on the handle, she confirmed that the girl herself was a witch. Arisu continued the song to advise Aguni to calm down and continue living. All life is precious. Know how to appreciate it. Apparently Aguni killed a lot of people. Although life is really precious, but compared to the sin he caused, even if you kill him 1,000 times, you still won't wash away all your sins. So why advise him to live for? At this time, the fire had spread. When everyone started to carry the two cremation girls closely to complete the game, then the flower-robed man appeared and shot them dead. It turned out that the flower shirt was still alive after falling from the rooftop. In a fit of madness, he fired at the crowd, causing a lot of deaths. Yusuji is not dangerous, running a circuit to attack the flower robe. Arisu also rushed to help, but both of them were pushed away by him. Just as he held the gun to finish off the two of them, then Aguni rushed into the bulletproof, and carrying the flower shirt and running into the fire. Taking that opportunity, others took the two girls to be burned. Arisu discovers a phone. It is possible to record a video close to the witch girl. After the witch was burned, beach survivors all received a game completion notification. Tattooed face smiling happily in the fire. Others leave in regret. Their beach paradise is turning into a dusty one. Yusuzi was still very angry because of the massacre of the army, and I want them to pay the price. But Arisu tried to stop her, because the most important thing is that they still keep their lives. Immediately afterwards, he collapsed from exhaustion. Inside the building, white-haired and transgender girl waiting until the last moment to harvest 10 flying leaves. Thus, he had all the numbered cards. He missed the realization. The flying leaves above are meaningless. So what do the creators of the game want from them? The next day, Arisu checks the girl's phone and discovered the videos she filmed herself. In the self-shot video, two girls in schoolgirl costumes. When the two girls found out that everyone had disappeared, immediately led by a person, the owner of the organization then becomes the dealer. Their obligation is to help game managers, and they also participate in playing to deceive the minds of players. They were also monitored and killed, if revealing the identity or letting the player win. When all players die, it means that the dealer wins, and they also get visa extensions, according to the level of the respective game. According to the instructions in the video, Arisu and Yusuji arrive at the venue of the game, but in front of them is a place of resistance, not as bustling as in that video. When I went inside, I found that everyone is dead. Looking at the wounds on their bodies proves it was the laser system that shot dead. White-haired names also appear. It turned out that the paper on the demon's corpse, it is the subway map of the city. That's why he came here before Arisu. They all agree that the managers here are just ordinary people. They will also be killed when the person is on the beach, breaking the game island. And there are definitely still higher-level managers. Suddenly, the entire screen is turned on. The beach executive girl appears on the screen. Notification of players who have broken the island. All games of number cards. She also reminded of sacrifice of a lot of people in the process. She felt touched and declared, the new phase will be started tomorrow, with the corresponding game's humanoid cards. After a short break, the second phase of the game begins again. After a large inscription, the next stage began to appear on the building, which was also when the beach crowd came. However, they still do not know what the rules and models of the second phase are, so they all agreed to wait. Suddenly, a bullet flew by, and before everyone had time to jump gears, another girl continued to explode. After that, it was no different from tearing people en masse. Juntaro glanced at one and realized that this was an anti-tank rifle. So hiding in the car doesn't work. The range of this gun is 1 kilometer. I don't know how many people there are on the enemy side. Seeing that the rain of bullets was getting closer, the 4 people were forced to split up and run. Before 20 minutes, the people on the street were destroyed, only a few pieces remained. Fortunately, all 4 people were smart, hiding on the side of the car. At this time, there was a hot air balloon flying over in the sky, and what caught everyone's eyes was a giant spade song. This means that the second game has already begun. The more immediate the shots, the stronger they are. Whether they hide on the spot or change their location, it is very dangerous in a critical moment. And Entada drove in time, and Usagi and Hikari climbed into the car. But just as Juntaro was about to climb up, a grenade rolled closer. Just like that, the Juntaro was forced to separate from everyone. In the car, Hikari kept complaining. If the game has started for real, then what are the rules of the game? We haven't even registered yet. Usagi guessed if it was to take down the enemy, Ryoi thought that the enemy was only a spade. This is a match of strength. He was the most difficult final boss. Behind them were 2 men and 2 women driving after them. I thought that would win the game. Unexpectedly, Say Bitch had quietly climbed into their car. Solve 4 people quickly. Say Bitch robbed the car. When the Ryoi were caught off guard, Saebai drove to the side. Shoot and attack immediately. They were beaten so that they could not turn back. Tada stepped on the accelerator continuously, trying to hit the steering wheel. The people in the car were swayed and burned, and couldn't stand it anymore. Her long legs sit in the driver's seat. In gear, increase the throttle, the speed must be on par with the mountain car god Haruna. Along the way, the light of the fire flashed. But old drivers also sometimes fall. Accidentally crashed into a parked car. The car was hit and overturned on the spot. Several people violently crawled out of the car. Saebai began to shoot and kill again. Finally, they jumped into a large building to escape from the chase of the spades. On the second day, they began to discuss how to deal with it. The spaceship of the spade is constantly moving. The entire city was his game hall. It also means that running away is their only option. Ryoi quickly figured out a way. It is to participate in another game. Tada was a little confused. Ryoi explained, "If I were an absolute enemy, I wouldn't interfere in other people's games. Because if the game interferes with each other, it will all collapse." Finally, at the suggestion of Ryoi, 4 people went to the Dragonfly Game Hall. The Dragonfly Game Challenge is teamwork. Naturally, everyone was full of confidence. I didn't expect the villain of Season 1 Nizagi to be so undead. Priority is also given to wearing game bracelets. This also increases the difficulty of the game. After weighing it down, the 4 people still chose to continue participating in the game. What is the purpose of Nizagi after all? Can they conveniently pass through or not? In the next episode, I will introduce to everyone this is a life and death game. The loser will die on the spot. The rules of the game are simple. Within 2 hours, the 2 teams competed for each other's points. In the end, the team with the higher score will pass. Each team initially had 10,000 points. Before the game starts, the score needs to be split between the teams. The score can be divided at will, but each person must have at least 100 points. Each person's initial score in the game is extremely important. There are 3 ways to get a score: combat, props, and bases. If the members of the 2 teams choose to fight, just touch the other person. The one with the highest score wins. The winner gets 500 points from the loser. The scores of the 2 teams will also appear to change from here. Pay attention only during the battle to know the opponent's score. That is, the battle was conducted in a state where the scores of both sides were unknown. So it should be considered as a decisive battle to the death. Combat can also be multiple unknown. If 2 teammates come into contact, they will conduct the competition with the total score. Thus, they can win an opponent that they cannot defeat alone. If you win, each person will average 500 points. The second way to get a score is props. In these countless crates, 6 props are hidden. When you touch the prop, you will receive an extra test score. Next is the final way to get the score. It is also the key that can turn the situation around. It is the base. Each of the 2 teams has a base. That's right, it's 10,000 points. So it's best to leave a defensive team. When the player touches his base, he notices that there is a small detail here. When the player is fighting or changing bases, they will become invincible, unable to receive or lose points. If the player is in an undefeated state in contact with the opposing team, the bracelet will emit an extremely large amount of electricity. It may even make people lose consciousness. Once you touch your base, you can revive it. Above are the entire rules of the game. The game officially begins. How are these 5 people dividing 10,000 points the key to winning the battle? It was at a time when everyone was racking their brains to think. The genius of the game Ryo has come up with a way. Fast runners have low points. The scores of people in the base school try to be as low as possible. They were divided into 2 people in a group. One person has a high score, one person has a low score. The benefit of the team is that when you encounter an opponent who wants to fight, the opponent could only see their total score. It was also the opponent who basically wouldn't know how many points each of them had. What they have to do now is to quickly find the props hidden in the crate, to get extra reward points. Soon the Usagi team met an enemy. His total score is 5,000 points. If 5 people share 10,000 points, won't give someone 5,000 points. Therefore, the choice of opponent has a very high winning percentage. Who knows if the opponent sees this situation? Immediately, the 4 legs ran away. The leading Kuina team found the first prop. Tauntaun received an additional 2,000 bonus points. But as soon as he received the point, he encountered Captain Kyoma on the opposite side. His standing moment made the 2 people panic. But when they looked at their current bracelets, they had a total of 6,900 points. Originally planned to join forces with 2 people to fight. Unexpectedly, after being brainwashed by Kyoma, Ryoi chose to fight him alone. Even more unexpectedly, Ryoi won. It turned out that the Kyoma team split 10,000 points evenly. Without a doubt, this is the network feed for the opponent. Ryoi didn't understand. This is a life and death battle. But for Kyoma, he and his teammates are equal. Or live together. Or die together. Ryoi also slowly realized that this was the opponent's scary point. Because for Dragonflies to play, the challenge is teamwork. The average score also increased the trust between the team members a lot. Next, Ryoi relied on the team's tactics to win 2 more battles, letting the new player become famous. The Ryoi team leads the Kyoma team by 5,000 points. Everything is going very smoothly. I thought I was sure of victory, but they didn't expect it. The Kyoma team was aiming at their base. Tada touched the base, received an extremely large number of points, tried to advise the opponent to withdraw, but they were soon determined to fight to the end. For people from 4 directions came to the base, even if they faced death, they were not afraid. In the end, the score indeed changed greatly. 3 opponents successfully touched the base. A person was stopped by the Tada. The Kyoma team turned defeat into a win with a 4,000 point lead. At the same time, players with negative points will be killed on the spot. This tactic of the Kyoma team is to sacrifice a teammate, but help the rest of the teammates have a higher chance of living. That is the object of the Kyoma team. If he attacked the opponent's base now, he might win. But as long as the opponent guards his base, then it is absolutely impossible to win. The game still has 1 last hour left. To ensure their only chance to turn the tide of the situation, it is to divide the action to limit the battle. Quickly find the remaining props. Like the Kyoma team can win, but the other competitor has a higher chance of survival. If he attacked the opponent's base now, he might win. The game still has 1 last hour left. To ensure their only chance to turn the tide of the situation, it is to divide the action to limit the battle. Quickly find the remaining props. For example, the Kyoma team has 3 people with more than 10,000 points, which greatly increases their morale. Not only did he spend first finding props, but he also won many battles. At a time when it was difficult for the VOA to find a prop, he could only watch it being robbed. What surprised him even more was that all 4 opponents were looking for props. It also means that their base has no one to guard it. It turned out that the Kyoma had already guessed, with their current looks, it would not be expected, nor would it be brave enough to attack their base. Because at the moment of life and death, everyone can only think about whether they can continue to live or not. This is human nature. VOA was promoted to class for 1 game. The game only has half an hour left. The Kyoma team leads by 12,000 points. It makes their morale increase a lot. Even if he finds the last prop, he only has 2,500 points. Could it be that everyone could only wait to die? It was at a time when everyone lost faith. The VOA genius once again discovered a new way. That's right. It was when the opponent was in an invincible state after the battle. If 2 of them touched the opponent's base, then you will receive 2,000 points. If 2 of them touched the opponent's base, then you will receive 2,000 points. If 2 of them touched the opponent's base, then you will receive 2,000 points. Thus, it is possible to win this game. If it was already a game of life and death, why not risk death? In the face of VOA's self-sacrificing manifesto, they finally broke the fear in their hearts and chose to attack the opponent's base. The Kuma team firmly grasped the victory. Surely the 4 of them hold the base. Wanting to get points is not easy, but as long as you are a person, there must be a disadvantage. They used the tactic of persuasion. Usagi is good at running over obstacles. It is to take advantage of the other party's arrogant attitude. Attract the Gukken of the group of opponents to leave. The remaining 3 people directly launched an attack on the opponent's base. But the opponent still has 3 defenders of the base. How can you succeed? Quina took the lead forward. Use spiritual martial arts to lead the opponent out. VOA confronts Kuma Hiden. He took advantage of his opponent's arrogance. Quina took the lead forward. Use spiritual martial arts to lead the opponent out. VOA confronts Kuma Hiden. He took advantage of the invincibility of the state of invincibility, causing both of them to fall to the ground. At this time, Nizagi went to battle. Get when the opponent is shielding favorably. Tap the enemy base. Tauntaun received 10,000 points. Just one more person touches the enemy's base. It is possible to turn the situation around. Nizagi was excited. Under the state of invincibility, using the enemy's electricity to fall. Create a space that is beneficial to Kuina. Kuina was as fast as lightning towards the base. But at another time, the key was kicked by the opponent. Although their plan this time was perfect, but facing such a strong opponent, it is still a declaration of failure. In front of the Kuma team led by 3,000 points, there were only 15 minutes left. The team members all seemed to be starting to despair. Even if the last 2,500 points prop is found, I can't win either. Although it doesn't make much sense anymore, Usagi still wants to do his best to persevere until the end. Elaborate does not disappoint people. She successfully found the props. Only 500 points behind the Kuma team. Ryoi couldn't stand it anymore either. Feel like you should do something. After all, he died. Why don't you try your best before you die? Before leaving, he apologizes to Tada. Because of the optimism of Tada, always makes Ryoi overcome spirits. But Miyagi has a distorted personality. I don't think so. He felt that he could not live anyway. Tada didn't live happily before he died. At this time, he paid attention to Usagi again. Luckily, Ryoi in time. The chase did not cause an irreparable tragedy. Time passed little by little. Everyone lost the will to fight, choosing to ignore life. Ryoi went to the sea to find Kuma. He said his last wish. It is possible to shake hands with Kuma. Although he knew that he would launch a battle, Ryoi would definitely lose. But with his request, Kuma agreed to that request. The 2 leaders of the 2 teams always make the other person enjoy the process. But it was unexpected. The moment the 2 shook hands, Ryoi still won against the opponent. The team score turned upside down to lead 500. What is this all about? As it turned out, with 7 minutes left in the game, Ryoi found that Tada kept banging on his hand with an iron door. Wear a bracelet. He was not afraid of death. Rather, it is to think of the only way to win. If Ryoi sneaks in front of his 10,100 points, it is possible to use the identities of 2 people to fight. In the real world, Tada is an auto mechanic. On one occasion, an unfortunate colleague became disabled. Therefore, it makes him extremely fond of Sao's. Leaders and colleagues also extremely dislike him, always not valued by others, which is Ryoi's thanks to him. It just made him regain his confidence, so decided to sacrifice the small, complete the big one. Ryoi was very unbearable, but under Tata's insistence, finally agreed. In the end, they can successfully win the match so that they can all survive. And the people of the Worm team have to suffer all the punishment of the game. Unfortunately for Tada for losing too much health. In the end, he couldn't live on. It looks like a game of life and death, but it's actually reveal the nature of each person. And in the next game, how would they face it? This is a challenging game. Human nature is the most. There was a ring on each person's neck. The back of the necklace has 4 patterns. Just guess wrong, the necklace will instantly explode. But he basically didn't see it. If you want to survive, you have to find a reliable one, until you find a mixed metastasis. Among them, the game was over. This is also the same thing that anyone can be a metastasis. How to find the truth? Become the hardest question. Maruko was quite smart and organized a small group. Let everyone on the team take turns. Confirm the pattern on the necklace. Sure enough, the first round ended. Everyone walked out of the cell safely. But if metastases don't have a chance to act, then they will be locked up forever. In this game, Kazuryu carefully observed each person's actions. Sito was forced to say the pattern behind his back. At this time, Banda walked forward. Tell him dragonflies. Hurry up and tell me, dragonfly. Maruko finds Sito pitiful and invites him to join the small group. In the second round, Kazuyu was blown to death. Maruko suspected that Sito was a mistress, so colluded with other team members. Trick his pattern. Your symbol is spades. It's a spade, thank you very much. Unexpectedly. Sito was also blown to death. But the game is not over. This proves that Sito is not a metastasis. People began to slowly lose their minds. That woman, when we were going to deceive him, she protested. Let's get rid of her. Just like that, in the fourth round, that woman was also dead. But Maruko's way of doing things, leaving Kyobi with no way to trust. Her group too. So she went up and looked for another group to see the pattern for her. It's a dragonfly, a thank you, a dragonfly. It's just an uncertain precaution. Kyobi was not confident in trusting the other group. Dragonfly, the result is tragedy. One after another, some players are killed. This made everyone's hearts full of fear. Even once caused nausea. Let's get rid of him. There was a moment like that, he wanted to trick me. Let's get rid of him. That woman was very dangerous. Distrust between Kaneko and Maruko, making the other two team members very awkward. But turning his head to see the scene of the two people happily getting along. They were completely worthy. The fear in his heart increased again. Let's kill the two of them. Just like that. They cooperate with Maruko and Kaneko. In the next round, killed both of them. In the end, neither of them had any way to trust the other. End each other's lives. Kazuria's partner saw such a menacing humanity. His heart had completely collapsed. Finally, he chose to kill himself. At this time, there were only 5 people left. A pair of best friends have been teaming up together since the game began. If Kazuryu doesn't find a new partner, the next round of the game he dies. In the canteen. He found the Matsushita, his partner. He is a murderous criminal. Something? I feel he is Zika. But Matsushita didn't believe him at all. Don't just give him a fake military pattern. Military machine. After returning, he also told Iwata. Zika is that name. I felt he was very suspicious. Kazuryu then bumps into Amida again in the canteen. I want her to be my new partner. It's an apricot flower, right? But Amida didn't pay attention to him. After taking a look, he hurriedly left. Now there are only 5 people left. This round, Zika will definitely take action. Spades, he is a soldier. Spades, the spades. Who is Zika after all? The game time begins. 5 people entered the cell one after another. The worst at this time was Kazuryu, who had no partner. But with his understanding intelligence. Finally, take advantage of the exclusion. Juro's words were absolutely unbelievable. Amida didn't pay attention to him. I'm not a soldier, I'm a spade soldier. In the end, I couldn't help but listen. Your own intuition. Time ends. The first person to come out of the cell was Juro. He had the idea that he had killed everyone. But he was overjoyed too soon. I soon guessed that he was Zika. How is it possible? When he and the murderer Iwata formed a team. I've seen you. Even if Tatsuda's words convinced him, it is also impossible for anyone to accept a stranger so quickly. After that, Iwata also came out. Very few people have such contact with me. A person can confidently come into contact with such a killer. There must be a special status. And this identity is Zika. Juro is still constantly denying it. At this time, Aoi also came out. He speculates that Juro and Amida get back and forth. I told her the real sign. But she's dead. She was under the control of others. It turned out that Kazuryu had already guessed it. Juro and Amida often go out to get food at the same time. Moreover, he took the same kind of food every time. That kind of food has 4 flavors. They used the food they got to confirm with each other whether the pattern was correct or not. But it seems to be a flawless tactic. But he was soon recognized by Kazuryu. Then let Amida tell the fake pattern Aoi again. From then on, they were all killed one after another. Juro asked when the 3 of them had cooperated. This game announces the opening of the machine. Say the principle of the game is, test the level of trust in others. We just listen to this suggestion. The most reliable method of ensuring trust. Not through advice. manipulation, even control, nor through brainwashing, hypnosis, deception, or fear. It's a quality. Aoi and Iwata are both fair-minded people. Therefore, they did not make appointments but became a new gate. And they soon guessed that Juro was a person. Treat them. Why? Why didn't they make an appointment but should become a new gate? And they soon guessed that Juro was Zika. Why not kill him in the game? It was because he wanted to be from above him. Find out information related to this game world. The two dragged Zika into the cell to proceed. The palace is unbearable. In the end, Zika could not bear the torture, choosing to guess the wrong pattern and die. Zika's spaceship above the game hall. It also caught fire. But their next match they had to face. What is the game like? Next I will continue to introduce to everyone. Switch scenes. Ryoi and Usagi encounter Kabuki's pursuit once again. While fleeing, the two were separated. In the forest, Ryoi are at risk. Handled by Kabuki. Fortunately, at the moment of adding a pin, someone came to help. During the match, the guns of the two Ryoi sides panicked and left. But while not paying attention, he fell into the trap of people who were already teething. Wait for him to wake up. It turned out to be the villain of the previous season. Suguru saved him. And Suguru's next goal. It is to think about how to eradicate Kabuki. Return to the real world. This is a game of life and death. In one game, Arisu and Yuzari finally meet. But this time Yuzari also brought a boy she met along the way. The boy is the weakest of the players here. Unfortunately, Quebec was chosen as the captain of the challenge team. Quebec and the boy will be the king of the two factions, respectively. Start explaining the game. Each team will rotate for 16 turns. For example, when it is the turn of the Quebec team, the red members of the Quebec team will float after the blue members of the challenge team. Once the red team member presses the button on the blue team member's back, then this person must stand still for the rest of the turn. In the second leg of the blue team, the member who has just pressed the button will automatically become a member of the Quebec team. However, the king could not change his army. In the challenge team's turn, the roles of the two sides are reversed. Each round lasts 5 minutes. There are 16 rounds in total. After the end, the team with the most members can win. Everyone in the failed team will die, including the chosen kings. The game begins. All players wear buttons on their backs, running in a cramped and dark factory. They let the boy stay because he was the king who couldn't change the team, just as he didn't have the physical strength to participate in the war. Before parting with the Ichi Usagi with the boy, she would definitely protect his safety. All Quebec teams are well trained. 5 minutes of play passes quickly. They hit many players of the blue team. Quebec not only uses violence in the chase, but also imposes a psychological level. She declares to the players that, if they want to live, take the initiative to come to your group. Therefore, many people who are afraid of death even actively avoid Usagi. After that, almost all of the players in the blue team became people from the Spade district. There were only 3 people left, Azisu, Usagi, and the boy. Quebec at first glance was very interested in Azisu, pursue him with all his might. Halfway through, Usagi stopped him again. 2 women rushed into a fight. The battle was still going on in front of the boy. Usagi didn't notice. To his life, he single-mindedly protected the boy he didn't know. Quebec angrily scolds Usagi for hypocrisy. That's why she decided not to make Usagi a member of her team. She wants to let Usagi stay on the blue team and die with the boy. After the turn of the green team, the 2 Usagi and Azisu meet again. They hid in the dark when the members of the red team were not paying attention. The 2 crushes press their buttons so that they are back as members of the blue team again. Usagi questioned everyone who really wanted to join the military and win. But they will also be locked up forever in this game. Always kill each other. But if the group of players wins the game, smash all the songs, maybe they can return to the real world. Even knowing this is hope is far-fetched. They want to try it too. A person suddenly spoke up, this place is not much different from the real world. But in the real world, he was speechless. This place may be better. Usagi tried to accept it. She also had the same thought before, although the place was full of pain. But it was the world that gave her life and raised me. These words have caused a stir in other players. People also can't help but remember the world before that. They regain their spirit and start fighting with spade hats. On this side, Quiza ordered at all costs to bring Azisu to his team. The rest left Usagi to leave her with the blue team. She wanted to show Usagi that hypocrisy is meaningless in this world. The member of the Precious Spade team follows the order to pass through Usagi. Concentrate on chasing Azisu. Seeing this round has 30 seconds left. 7 people in red surrounded Azisu. Fortunately, Usagi showed up just in time, through the suspended Azisu iron chain, in the air to escape from the encirclement of the red team. The blink of an eye has reached the final round. It is also the attacking round of the blue team. Usagi quickly walked behind the red team members and pressed their button. The rest of the green team also attacked one after another. Very soon after, the members of the red team outside the quarter all became all in the green team. The team of players wins eventually. Before he died, the noble Jade told Azisu, after all the games are over, they will know the answer to the question in their hearts. Quarter told Azisu, only when he breaks the last game island. Only then could he know the answer. After that, Azisu with Usagi say goodbye to the other players. Continue their journey. The two continued to walk forward. They found a hot spring. Since coming here, it is difficult to say that it is difficult to sleep peacefully. Chi came to take a shower comfortably. They also take this opportunity to enjoy the comfort in the different lakes. Suddenly, the other side came the cry of Usagi. Azisu hurriedly came to take a look. It turned out that 2 elephants were bathing nearby. Perhaps they escaped from the zoo. Seeing a scene like this, Azisu couldn't help but feel a little moved. After a while, the 2 people were startled to notice. Both of them did not face each other. Azisu apologized and was about to leave, but Usagi called him again and told him to stay. Whatever comes, it will come. They had a sweet kiss. Suddenly, Azisu discovered someone peeked through the cave behind, but it seems that the person is no longer alive. On the other side, the Karo game is held at the Japanese Supreme Court. Karo turned out to be a former member of the board of directors at the beach. And number 2, Kazuzu. Chishiza is participating in a game with Karo difficulty. There is a brainstorming strategy. Within the 3-minute limit, each person will choose a number from 0 to 100. 5 people choose 5 numbers. System for calculating the average of 5 numbers. Multiply by 0.8. Finally coming to a number. Out of 5 people, whoever chooses the closest number to the last number will be the winner. After each round, except for the winner, the losers will lose 1 point. If after many rounds someone has a score of -10, they will be eliminated. Whenever a player is eliminated, we'll add a new rule. The first round begins. Everyone takes turns choosing their own numbers. 33, 40, 29, 30, 32. The average is 328. After multiplying by 0.8, the result is 2,624. Karo picks the 29 closest to the result should win the game. Through the first round of the game, people start to assume. If all 5 players choose 40, after calculating the average, multiply it by 0.8. The result is 32 less than the original selected 40. This means that the result will always be less than the selected number. This requires the player to predict the number of other people choosing. Then choose a lower number. After the first round ends, the balance per capita of the loser begins to be irrigated with sulfuric acid. 1 point is deducted each time. It is that each time sulfuric acid will be poured into the scale. Until -10 points, walking on the scale will tilt completely. Accordingly, sulfuric acid will fall on the player and the opponent's cow. Through the second round, learn from the previous round. Everyone is smart in choosing numbers. The numbers they chose were all smaller numbers. But in the end, Kazo still won this round. Through 2 rounds, everyone understands. To get closer to the final number, everyone will choose 0. Sure enough, the next round of 3 men chose 0. Female player pick 1. Surprisingly, Chishiza didn't follow that logic, he chose 100. In the end, the female player won. Everyone was surprised. I don't understand why Chishiza chose a number that he would definitely lose. But Chishiza has his calculations. Because you choose 100 will break what people think. Everyone chooses the suspicious sequence of smaller numbers. But when Chishiza breaks that logic to win, People can change their strategy without opting in anymore. It was exactly as Chishiza predicted. After that, the contestants began to choose numbers greater than 0. Through 10 rounds, there are 2 men who have reached negative 10 points. Only to see the scales on the heads of the 2 people slowly tilted down. Sulfuric acid was sprayed covering the whole body of 2 people. Their bodies melted in a terrible scream. Because 2 players are eliminated, the game will add 2 new rules. The first rule, if 2 or more people choose the same number, their choice will be void and all will be deducted 1 point. Second law, if the winner guesses the final number correctly, the loser will be deducted 2 points. In the next round, all 3 chose no. Everyone is deducted 1 point. Their current score is Chishiza minus 9 points, Kazuzu minus 5 points, negative 8 points girl. In the next round, Chishiza thought for a while and chose 23. Final results have been announced. Chishiza guessed the correct number. Female players are eliminated. She couldn't believe the Chishiza's questioning. Why write your numbers to guess the final result? Chishiza also frankly said the reason. He guessed that the female player would choose a big number to avoid the same number as the 2. Wait after he is eliminated. Then fight with Kazuzu. Chishiza's guess. Female players to avoid slack with other players. Will definitely choose out of 50. If she had done it, she would have done it until. However, from 90 to 100 is too extreme. Double numbers are too obvious. Circular numbers are also not okay. People are picky and primes are also eliminated. Thus only 62 and 74 are left. Chishiza chose 62 with a chroma of 50. 50 unexpectedly really lucky. Didn't expect the final number to be accurate. After listening to Chishiza's explanation, desperate female players who were eliminated. After the female player is eliminated, the game continues to appear a new rule. If someone chooses no more, the other chooses the number 100. Then the person who chooses the number 100 will be the winner. The current Kazuzu minus 6 points has an advantage over the Chishiza, which is minus 9 points. Kazuzu just choose no. Regardless of which number Chishiza chooses, it will lose. Even if you choose no. Because choosing the same number, as a rule, 1 point will be deducted. Thus, Chishiza will still be eliminated. Chishiza now wants to win. Simply choose between 0, 1, and 100. But you can't choose the Kazuzu breed even once if you want to win. A look at how Kero designed the game. Chishiza could see that he was maintaining fairness of the game as much as possible. Kazuzu mistakenly enters the memory. When he was a lawyer, he looked for the factory owner and wanted the boss to pay compensation for the dead. Because of the environmental pollution around the factory, the boss cursed him for his innocence. This world is inherently unfair. Wealthy people can do whatever they want. It can be solved without having to pay the poor. Since then, Kazuzu has always pursued the ideal of absolute fairness. In the end, Chishiza handed over the decision to Kero. He said bluntly that every round he would choose 100. Kazuzu pursues fairness and chooses 0 every time. Lost several rounds in a row, until his score was like a minus 9 Chishiza. To the last game, Chishiza directly showed the selected copy of 100 to Kazuzu. He wanted to let him make the final decision. Images of the old days appear in Kazuzu's mind one after another. He was tired of this unfair world. Now he just wants to end it all. So Kero continues to select 0. End your own life. A new day begins again. In Quizip's game, Kuina and Koan suddenly meet again. The two immediately formed an alliance. No surprises. They won the game. The balloon was burned. They are breaking more and more games. Have they come close to the truth about this world? Friends and I continue to follow, while Azizu is exploring a deserted city. I haven't seen Chichija again in a long time. Unfortunately, even the Najaji is here. He opens with a shot aimed at Chichija. His time was running out. He wanted the two of them to play his game together. He throws Chichija a gun. Then start the game. But Azizu couldn't kill each other. He actively stands out from the clicking position. If Najaji wants to kill you, then just shoot. At least until the last moment of life. Azizu didn't do anything against his heart. These words, on the contrary, make Najaji unable to get down. Chichija next to her was also touched when she heard that. He just went through a deep game. Psychology is also gradually changing. At this moment, Usagi suddenly appeared. Najaji immediately threw a gun at her. Usagi dodges in time. Eyes that are about to be shot. Unexpectedly, Chichija stepped forward to support her. And Najaji was also shot down by Azizu. Seriously injured, Chichija tells Azizu. In the past, he said that people who live seriously like idiots, the more people who strive to rise, then he wants them to suffer even more. He hated all their good intentions. But since meeting Azizu, he felt the power of kindness. Therefore, he also wants to become such a person once. Live a life without regrets. Azizu and Usagi are drowning in sadness. Suddenly, a Kabik balloon appeared in the sky. The terrorist hunter is coming here. Until the name Kabik is still a difficult potential danger. The paper surname of Chichija and Najaji. Still in the habit of falling under the car. Then flee. While on the run, Usagi sees Kuina and Nen. The four of them quickly regrouped. Only 2 of Kabik's balloons were left in the scheme. If they can't get rid of the Kabik, they can't go on. So today they must also kill Kabik. But Kabik's strength is really too strong. There are players who drive cars into him. The car was able to fly, but the Kabik was not injured at all. He took off his broken coat, revealing his true face. Gunshots rang out again. The Azizu people had to hide in the bridge tunnel. Here they meet Aguni and Heiza again. Aguni controls everyone's remaining ammunition tree here. Every subsequent shot is extremely precious, so they can only use it at critical times. At this time, Kuina remembered the dynamite that burned her homemade Chichija oil. Azizu suddenly came up with an idea. There's a pharmacy over there. If the door is closed and sprayed with erosion smoke, then the destructive power will be many times stronger. You'll be waiting for him at the pharmacy and how to detonate the bomb. But there must be someone as a decoy. Aguni was immediately prosperous, but the pink shadows did not agree. A person who makes bait is too reckless. It's not as good as everyone acting together. They immediately implemented a plan that attracted Kabik's attention. During this time, Azizu arrives at the pharmacy and begins to spray gas. During the battle, everyone was seriously injured. Azizu is aware that something is wrong. I had to appear myself to lure Kabik to the pharmacy. However, the deceitful Kabik seems to realize that Azizu is trying to trap him. Try to leave. Seeing this, Aguni used all his strength to push Kabik into the store. Then the two combined to create a big explosion. Aguni got up from the rubble and walked in front of the dying Kabik, using his gun to completely end his life. After Kabik's death, Aguni also loses his goal of life. The uncle also wants to end his own life. At this time, the shadow of Takizu's teeth appeared again. Takizu apologizes to Aguni and tell the uncle to take good care of himself in the future. After Takizu disappears, Aguni puts down his gun and lies bewildered on the ground in the alley and died due to severe injuries. Everyone else couldn't move their bodies. But there's still one last game. Azizu can't give up. He had to wait for Usagi to be injured in the leg. Step by step to the game location. The last game of the game is on the top floor of the building. Welcoming 2 people is a black-haired girl. The last game is called basketball, also known as lawn pizza, a popular sport in England in the 19th century. Pizza presents this game. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. Just Azizu and Usagi smoothly complete 3 games. If you don't finish playing and give up, the game is over. Pizza starts the first half. 3 people stand on the artificial grass field on the top floor. The surroundings are decorated like a private garden. There seems to be nothing dangerous. Pizza plays while teaching Azizu how to play. The game is played using a wooden basket and 2 balls. Hit both balls through the 6 door frames in prearranged order, and then hit them in front of the opponent. You will win. Due to not understanding the rules of the game, Azizu failed in the first game. But after watching the black-haired girl play, Azizu also mastered the rules of success, winning the second game. According to the current progress, this game is strangely simple. Just as Azizu prepares to go all out to start the 3rd round, Pizza suddenly came to the side of the courtyard and sat down and invited the 2 of them to have afternoon tea. The 2 of them had no choice but to indulge in a coda. During the tea party, Azizu asks the black-haired girl if she knows the truth of this world, but she looked mysterious, answering vaguely. Hearing that, Azisu didn't hold out any hope of exploiting information from her anymore. To be honest, the black-haired girl definitely doesn't know. Who would have thought that these words would arouse her lust for victory and defeat? Pisa, to prove that she is a storyteller, immediately talk endlessly about the world of 1,000 years later. Science and technology are extremely developed, people are almost immortal, actually playing a virtual reality game. And she is the administrator of this game, which is the story of aliens catching them for experiments or the elite who are settling underground, planted fake memories on robots and made them play these games. Every time I see two people seriously asking if it's real, she laughed, telling her to joke. Seeing Ajisu has been aroused in anger, Pisa continued to provoke, speaking directly, that the game of killing his two best friends was designed by her. These words finally made Ajisu unable to hold back anymore. Immediately took the gun and pointed it at her. But Pisa didn't panic at all, seemingly just waiting for Ajisu to kill her. If so, the 3 games will not be able to be completed. Ajisu can't break this game. Ajisu was lucky to have calmed down at the last minute. But Pisa didn't want to spare him. Continue to declare in an enchanting tone. What she said next was the truth. This world is really just a fantasy in the Ajisu brain. Ajisu after the deaths of 2 close friends in a car accident. Thoughts appear chaotic. Pisa is his main doctor. Usagi is also a patient of the hospital he is treating. As soon as he finished speaking, Ajisu's eyes suddenly became dull. Pisa's words were like having brain hypnosis magic. He began to enter the scene she described. Looking back at my failed life in the other world. He has no pursuits, all day long he only knows how to play online games. The death of a good friend is also because of him. He lived a meaningless life. Pisa constantly brainwashed him with negative thoughts. Ajisu burst into tears. The psychological defense line has completely collapsed. Pisa took out 2 pills and told Ajisu that she would feel better after taking it. At this time, the Usagi outside the door came in. Use one last ray of reason to awaken Ajisu. She smashed a cup of medicinal water. Then he picked up the debris to save a line on his wrist. She used her life in the hope of waking him up. Fresh blood flows out non-stop. Usagi's breathing gradually weakens. But she still wanted to do her best to tell Ajisu. Don't wonder about the truth of the world. There is also no need to care about the meaning of existence. Just remember both of you have been in this world of sensory support. And love each other. This is enough of a reason to live. After Usagi's efforts, finally succeeded in awakening the Ajisu, the hospital scene began to disappear. Footage of the rooftop football field again. Pisa was deeply touched by the words and actions Usagi had done. Raising morale, Ajisu asked to continue the next 3rd game. Pisa also has no more game time. When night falls, the 2 ended the 3rd postal ball game. Then congratulations to Ajisu for winning. A ray of light descended from the sky. Pisa removed. At this time, all games are destroyed. The balloon caught fire. At the same time, brilliant fireworks are set off in the city sky. The system now asks all remaining players, or choose to refuse or accept to be a citizen, and settle in this land. Aguni and Heiza both said no. Kuina at this time no longer has the strength to choose to resist. Chichiza and Nazari also don't want to stay in this world. Only Jaba and Banda Win in the migration game are ready to stay. Ajisu clenches Yuzara's hand. The answer of the 2 people was naturally a refusal. In the blink of an eye, the time returned to the original normal afternoon. On the bustling streets of Shibuya, Ajisu and friends are laughing happily. In the low crowd, all the familiar figures appeared. Pisa at the same time in the same place. They all glanced at each other. At this moment, the sky appeared in a dazzling light. A few seconds later, a large explosion occurred in Shibuya. Half of the city turned into rubble in the blink of an eye. The rescue team quickly received information. The cause of the impact was a meteorite in space falling to Earth. The victims of this natural disaster are the people who died in the game and stay in the other world. And the survivors are also the last survivors in the game. Agisus' brother came to visit him in the hospital room and told him when he was rescued, the heart stopped beating again for a minute. Fortunately, he finally crossed the danger safely. Ajisu has a bit of a feeling. Then I struggled with death for just 1 minute. but he felt like he had spent a long time in a certain world. Back in the real world, everyone loses their memory. But whenever they see collaboration, they inevitably feel familiar. In the hospital, Ajisu and Usagi meet by chance. I don't know why Ajisu wants to start a conversation with this girl, even wanted to be friends with her. Because looking at her, he always felt familiar. It's like fate. Although Ajisu's conversation skills are extremely broken, but Usagi still agrees to go for a walk with him, because in the heart of Usagi for Ajisu, there is the same feeling. The two walked towards the courtyard, sunny skies and sun, despite having experienced a cruel disaster. But survivors remain optimistic about the future. A village with a gentle breeze blowing through. Blow the cards on the lawn table. Only the last Joker card is left. It carried a demonic smile on its face. Gaze at the world. Will the wars of patience decide life? And death is all just a joke? Or will there be a season 3 of the movie? Let's wait.